Welcome everyone to another IT news and random bits and pieces live stream. As per usual, a couple of days passed and we have already the next stuff to talk about. A little bit out of line, just 1 second. There is some rumor Ryzen 9 3900 something, 12 cores, 24 threads, 65 watt. Of course, certainly with a lower base clock, but you have seen this previous live stream. If you want details there, a couple of videos back, they are supply constrained anyway, so I don't have the very greatest hopes. Certainly this is also lower base clock, so whatever, but although it is listed as chip listed in the BIOS update, but what is the base clock, even 390 something. But anyway, we are waiting for the 16 core 32 thread car part, just that you are aware. In the other not as amazing news as that rumor, Mozilla won't turn on DNS over HTTP as the default for UK users, apparently. Unlike it's planning for the US users, in my opinion, it's also totally silly that UK or US or EU, France, German, Russian, Chinese, but they also see where do you draw the line. The Chinese and Russian government demand something else, or the UK government demands something else. But yeah, the situation is certainly not amazing. So what is it about? It's DNS over HTTPS, DOH, and this means, in contrast to old-fashioned DNS queries that have been insecure, plain text most of the time for decades now, doing that over HTTPS. There is actually, so on Linux and other similar operating systems, all of your DNS queries also go in clear text usually with a system library. So a program does there get host by name or something, get host name or whatever that API was, and your C library is doing this on your behalf, and that is clear text, plain old. There is a glibc plugin, I think, external maybe, so not even in the glibc code base. If you want this on Linux, then yeah, there is a plugin that you can compile yourself. Although I think I looked into this, in the README even was mentioned load performance issues with massive queries. Welcome in the audience, welcome Christian, comments there from Christian. Mozilla turned political years ago, unfortunately. Yeah, the problem is also local regulations, right? So if a local government demands this, could also be the German or the France or wherever, also Chinese, Russian, North Korea, you name it. And there you see how much are we apart in Europe. Well, although UK wants to leave, maybe allegedly, still a little bit chaos there and mixed signals. But sometime soon, between now and forever, or so they say. And where is there still a difference between all the mass surveillance that you are when you are in London or Berlin or in Beijing? Not unfortunately, because although InfoSec developers like you and me, we said for many years this is security is compromising too many human rights, but the politicians, of course, say it in the name of terror, let's spy on all civilians. But and then they don't find anything in this massive stack of data. But yeah, not so as much as Mozilla probably as in UK government says you don't do this. Why do they do this? I probably should say because they want the clear text metadata. Where is it? Has no plans to turn on. Oh yeah, right. Even some controversial internet service provider association. Also, why do internet service provider lobby? All right. So it's not only the government, also even internet service provider intervened and said, hey, wait, we want all your metadata. So paying for your internet, often failing and breaking as per, by the way, how many drop frames do we have over this DOCSIS cable? And then they even want your metadata because they can never have enough of you, apparently. And I think even additionally bypass UK filtering, yeah, UK adult content filtering obligations and parental control, yeah, parental control over DNS, right, and undermining internet safety and standards in the UK. So the more you know, you heard it here live on this channel. In similar news, Firefox remote code execution in Firefox, of course, again, just out yesterday. There of Frederick Braun. Apparently browsers are complicated enough to have an attack surface beyond memory safety issues. This talk will look into injection flaws in its user interface of Mozilla Firefox, which is implemented in JavaScript, HTML, and an XML dialect called Xeon. Within cross-site scripting, the user interface, attackers can execute arbitrary code in the context of the main browser's application process. This allows cross-platform exploits of higher reliability. Ouch, that does not sound amazing, right? Does it? And yeah, it's a long text you will find there. Also find details probably if you want to know more details. But yeah, we will look. Also, for sure, one lesson learned of this is usual recurring theme here: monstrous code bases and one address space. Also a little bit JIT and sandboxing, but you see even the most clever and extensive sandboxing people always found ways to escape out of this. Recurrently, Firefox, Chrome, you name it. In a similar amazing security news, how to break PDF encryption, September 2019. I'm not sure, so this is out today and a little bit in the news, and certainly I have a little bit of insider knowledge here. But as per usual, not burning the bridges, because right now I'm project leader of a PDF standard, but a minimal one, at least not being a sellout, and a PDF raster, previous video below, for pure image data without any fancy nonsense. This ISO standard might be one of the shorter ones with only maybe around 20 pages, not the 2000 of the PDF standard. And so I'm not sure, but actually, so a PDF raster allows for encryption and signing for data transfer from scanners and multifunction devices for cloud scanning, right? Network scanning, the fun stuff we do nowadays. And however, actually PDF raster specifically, not only is it totally, it's a subset, it's not inventing anything new, it's not basically, look, the 2000 pages, we scratch 1900 something pages of the PDF standard and you only do, as we say here, as simple as possible. And so at least keeping true with our minimal code and implementation detail fashion here. And while PDF raster allows both of this, it might be slightly, well, you can always corrupt files and such, but PDF raster, one thing does not allow is extending the files, because some of this trickery works by extending the files, and which you can just do. You can take a PDF and it has the objects in the cross-reference table, and you can slap more objects in the new cross-reference table on at the end of it. And for example, for editing, for notes. And this, of course, makes WordPress super tricky. So there, if you just append something, some edits, some additions, then you end up with some stuff encrypted and some stuff not encrypted and so on. This is also what they have here, the problem multiple problems, and some of them, especially the trickery, they basically also show here again, just like we had this before. So I'm not really sure what is new, because we had this new huge PDF insecurity news earlier this year in February or March or something. So you see a recurring theme. Not really sure if anything they discuss here is new, but a lot of stuff they discuss here is just broken implementations, like they mess with the signatures, like appending this, and then the whole document is not signed anymore and stuff like that. And they just basically say, okay, the PDF reader, whatever that might be, Acrobat or another third-party one, is simply, so it is showing the file correctly because it's like kind of a correct file, but it's not like indicating, look, this is not, the signature is not for the whole document, or the signature is not valid anymore because there is additional content and similar fun stuff. So yeah, actually, so this is from February 2019. So maybe they, okay, so maybe this is the old thing. Maybe then this part is additional if this have been the same people. Maybe, so maybe that is also then solved. And yeah, encryption, they say also. Yeah, one problem, I always was very suspicious with encryption, which, by the way, fun fact, we're not personally using, but I know scanner vendors we are currently talking with, they would want to use this. I always was very skeptical and asked even people there where we sit together with, can't close too many details here, live on this channel, not yet anyway, and I was one, so most people, but there you see most people in the big industries, like the big company names, which, whatever people I might be sitting there, Adobe and friends and family, I mean Adobe certainly you can guess, but quite some others, and many of them just think if you just encrypt something, it's totally secure, like military grade encryption. And when I point out, certainly the people at Adobe are certainly aware because it's historically grown. And when you look into an encrypted document, you will find that, be surprised that a lot of stuff is readable. So all the object indexes are readable. Just the only thing that is encrypted in a PDF are the strings. So all the other well, mostly integer values and all the other object structure is still readable, which actually is exposing quite a bit. You can work around this a little bit by putting all those objects in an object stream, and the object stream would be encrypted, which is certainly what more modern programs would do. But still, I would be a little skeptical how secure this really is if some NSA grade crypto researcher is taking a closer look at this relatively ad hoc and over the decades grown PDF encryption. So yeah, there you have it. But when you speak with such people, you often get surprisingly few answers. So yeah. Anyway, speaking about answers, Microsoft stops trusting SSD makers exactly for the same thing, hardware encryption. So the feature used to trust an SSD with a volume encryption tool called BitLocker. And so previously, apparently, and there you also see why you watch this channel, the more you know, apparently Microsoft Windows trusted when an SSD said, hey, I can do hardware encryption. And then Windows did not by default do additional BitLocker encryption because, hey, this SSD did military grade hardware encryption, there's nothing more to do. And of course, I always was skeptical. I always said, yeah, those people in the companies with the more cheap labor there do not have the best record for doing the best development and research in my experience. And certainly they could do, maybe it's also the management not having big enough teams, not the best possible people because not paying the right high salary. And this is how we often end up with stuff like this, or they even do it intentionally because some of those drives even had hard-coded default passwords like trust no one and whatever, passwords like this, right? And this is why, yeah, Microsoft came to the same conclusion that I always have. I would never have trusted hardware encryption. Fun fact, I think I have a hardware encryption Linux LVM2, or actually does it? It's not even LVM2, but it's device mapper related, right? Yeah, you see Linux getting so complicated, you don't even know where this full disk Linux encryption is getting into, but probably it's device mapper based, I would say. So not directly LVM2. Anyway, and below my video, I think people commented, why don't you use just hardware encryption? At least I remember somewhere seeing this somewhere on thousands of comments on my channel. And yeah, I probably answered already exactly for this reason. I don't trust any of those. And here we see previous examples. Even Microsoft came to the same conclusion. Better late than never, but yeah. In similar news of Windows and Microsoft, Malware stops Rheinmetall-Production in the USA, or at least they write Amerika. Anyway, is it USA? Anyway, German steel company declares outbreak of some ransomware, and they estimate week-long production outages. So just what we always recurrently call out here, why you don't want to use Windows, why you want more security stuff, and also the recurring monoculture of everyone running the same Windows with the same exploits, and then some malware comes along, and yeah, certainly all your Windows is virus outbreak. Nothing too new. We have seen this a couple of times, be it nuclear enrichment stuff in Iran or other hospitals, governments, you name it. Speaking about insecure stuff, Cisco wants to change to a bi-yearly, half-yearly patch day, which in my opinion is hilarious. I doesn't even quite understand I'm not into Cisco, similar to not trusting hardware encryption, not trusting Cisco at all, which I probably should make a similar company for network stuff, like based on T2 Linux, like a microkernel, because apparently everything else is broken. And Cisco here recurring, so not allegedly, but recurring theme of all those past breaking news on this channel. There usually is some Cisco security vulnerability waiting for you somewhere. And in my opinion, but leave me in the comments below, delaying security, so half yearly security update for me means they are sitting for up to a maximum of 6 months, which apparently, according to previous news, is usually what they have been doing anyway. How long it takes them for some security researcher contacting them and then they acting on that. So not really new, but in my opinion this is silly. So not only does it intentionally delay the stuff even longer, maybe they want to get out of the news, like only insecure once every 6 months, but it's certainly not for the best security, right? If there is a security vulnerability, it's known by some researcher, maybe by more gangsters and government gangsters, and yeah, sitting on that for a couple of months certainly doesn't make it better, right? And also, if you accumulate this, then you have all products affected, right? If they would, in my opinion, they should release this when it's known and ready, every week release it, right? Ship it if it tested past validation and QA. Because if you delay this, so on this 6 months, like you have updates for every product because everything is insecure, and then there might be issues, you roll it out to everything and everything gets broken, like doesn't sound like the best plan to me. And also additionally, as I said, for 6 months stuff is more insecure than it should be. They write here why updates. So yeah, allegedly according to the feedback of the customers, but maybe the customers only said, hey, these are too many updates, which might not be, which probably means, hey, your stuff is too insecure, not like we want less updates, just like we want more secure stuff maybe. But yeah, anyway, I find this rather questionable. Speaking about Cisco, security advisory out just this week or last week. Cisco iOS XE software file system extortion denial of service vulnerability. Like, yeah, that is why you want be 6 monthly updates, right? Anyway, from the amazing artificial intelligence self-learning stuff, be forewarned here by a user on Twitter. Tesla, Elon Musk enhanced summon isn't safe or production ready. Tried on the empty driveway, car went forward and ran into the side of a garage. Love the car, but didn't. Well, not that I would not have predicted this here previously, probably what we discussed. In my opinion, also just cameras not enough. I would never trust just the camera picture. Also dirt, visibility, sun, driving into bright sunlight, snow, night. Also, as far as I remember, Elon Musk was one of those who said we don't need radar and other fun stuff, just the camera, and that's it, in my opinion. Totally unsafe. But although probably it has some ultrasonic sensors for parking and stuff anyway, right? But for me, it's not too much of a surprise. This Tesla AI looks a little bit sketched together with hot needles, and certainly another proof additionally to those, may they rest in peace, people who, although they probably allegedly were watching videos and sleeping sometimes, but all other AI fails, also already driving into concrete blocks and other stuff. But this is, of course, if this would be me, I would not write love this car but saddened. Like, I would be totally pissed if my car drives into, by itself, like parks this car and this thing slams into a wall. I would be more than saddened. I would actually be pretty pissed. Also, then maybe Tesla is, the question is even how do they react, right? It could also be that they say user's fault and you have agreed to the terms and conditions, you signed that this is better and might not work. So yeah, also a little bit your self-driving car damages itself, and yeah, who repairs this now? Because anyway, I would certainly more than be saddened, but whatever. In similar peak bugs, we had this here recurrently. Also, not only the previous iOS releases were pretty rushed. Apple already released iOS and iPadOS. There you see what stupidity is. It's the same Mac OS that they named iOS, and now it's also iPadOS with watchOS. Just to have those terms in marketing, it's a little bit confusing when it's both iOS, but one is now named iPadOS, like seriously. But yeah, 0.1 release is out, so maybe the biggest peak bugs already fixed now. You maybe can start installing this. But yeah, there you see how many people even write here, even email doesn't work, fixed issue. And also, this is the ever-changing stuff. If this would be my OS, which fun fact, we have an OS, right? If you're for T2 videos here and Octane and stuff. But I would not do this ever-changing stuff, and you would think iOS 13 in 2019, after over a decade, stuff is rock solid, but no, still prevent iPhone restoring from backup. Like seriously, even restoring, well, even my installation of Catalina didn't work right, but addresses an issue that could cause battery to drain more quickly. Now that is a surprise, right? Quickly draining batteries on iPhones. Fixed an issue that could impact recognition of Siri. Requests on what? Siri requests, like I said already, even the few Siri stuff I used didn't even always go so well. Addressed an issue that could cause reminders to think slowly. By the way, I did not even say this. I had an issue with my iPhone that was on the latest version. As iPhone 6s, because need a headphone jack and cheapskates. I had a bug with the latest versions of iOS. I couldn't delete telephone numbers, so my brother got a new telephone number, and I had already like 5 old, and probably that's a long-standing bug, because I was wondering, I went to my brother's account details, and I was wondering, crap, which of those 5 numbers are even the previous working one? And I'm pretty sure I deleted the old ones already like 5 times over. And then I deleted all of them because all the 5 ones are old and obsolete, and I added the new one. The next day I wanted to call him, and the iPhone had 5. It forgot the new number, I think at least. And anyway, I had all 5 numbers back. I deleted them. I should have made a video, and the next time I will. I deleted the numbers, all of them 6 times, saved, and went out of the contacts app, went back in again, and the numbers were there again. The next time for sure I will bore you with this detail, but this is my opinion really hilarious. So I could not delete those old numbers. How I deleted them was I deleted them on my Mac, and then maybe they also disappeared on my iPhone. But there you see iCloud Sync in 2019, totally amazing. Yeah, fixed the security issues that we called out here for third-party keyboards. Fixed issue that could prevent iPad. Yeah, also, yeah, there you see iOS and iPadOS, how different are they? Yeah, both could not restore from backups. Like, we have actually something handy for that. Yeah, just call it iOS, right? Or Apple OS, I don't know. Also, so yeah, both updates for iOS and iPadOS, because they're entirely different, address also battery drainage quickly. Yeah, it's the same. So basically it's nearly the same. So yeah, amazing different iOS, totally amazing different iOS. Also, I wonder actually that Apple is having those pre-built images. This is also a little bit annoying, that, or really hilarious. So if I would be Apple, I would also have, especially on the new iPhones that have quite a lot, well, except until recently where they still started with 8 GB or so, which might be the reason why they have all the different firmware images, like they have one dedicated firmware version only for this one SKU. And I would really have only like one firmware image for all iPhone X's and 11s and such, and it's a little bit, and yeah, what does it save? I would, maybe someday I need to extract them and diff them. I would think they only differ a little bit with modem firmware and modem drivers and stuff. But seriously, I mean, this is really too many firmware images to maintain and build and test and validate. It's hilarious. In similar news, but what do I know about OS development? In more amazing news, Intel open source announces IntelFSP server package for scalable Xeon platform at some Open Computer Project regional summit last week for Intel server, for Coreboot.org, apparently for Skylake SP platforms. But yeah, I mean, as much as we applaud this here, A little bit late though, but better late than never. And also only server, right? So you could also ask probably why only this, why not also for the desktop SKUs? Wouldn't that be nice as well? But yeah, anyway, so maybe on some server you might sometime soon, between now and forever, run this with coreboot, maybe sometime soon. And similar to Friday for Future news, because certainly climate is so F-checked that probably need to do something, right? You would think stuff improves and gets a little bit better. Unfortunately, not too bad. Too good news for you. Thousands of ships fitted with cheat devices. So yeah, not only Volkswagen allegedly, and Daimler and Audi and Ford and Fiat and I don't know, probably everyone in the car manufacturing industry cheated with diesel defeat devices. Apparently also a lot of container or other chips apparently here. Global shipping companies have spent billions rigging vessels with cheat devices that circumvent new environmental legislations by dumping pollutions into the sea instead of the air. Like, seriously, what could possibly go wrong, right? And before people say everything is amazing and the market will regulate themselves, this is how you see the market at work, right? Market regulating itself. And what for me as an engineer is so frustrating is they spent allegedly 12 billion, 9.7 British pound, a currency allegedly declining. So they spent vast amounts of money. Why do they not spend this billions into developing cleaner diesels or whatever they use there, this heavy oil stuff? How they see humans at work, and why I'm shouting this out, you would say, why do you even speak about this environmental stuff? Because people need to be more aware how, apparently, according to all the scientists who research this whole day, we destroy the planet, and how F-checked humans are, that they, instead of spending 12 billion to make this technology more environmentally friendly, they spend it on cheating. It's like, it's so ill, so hilariously mentally irritated that I have no words. And the only conclusion, of course, you would say, if you have 12 billions, you would spend this to make this technology better, right? But maybe the technology is so F-checked that it's not even easy to make it better. So maybe they knew, like, we can barely make this much better, so let's totally cheat, because making it really better would cost more than 12 billion apparently. But yeah, which apparently allegedly known as open loop scrubbers, which can this also go away here, but also it's on the extract sulfur from the exhaust fumes of ships that run on heavy fuel oil. This means the vessels meet standards demands by the International Maritime Organization that kicked it on January the 1st. However, the sulfur emitted by the ships is simply rerouted from the exhaust and expelled into the waters around the ship. Like, seriously, what the heck? Which not only greatly increases the volume of pollutants being pumped into the sea, no shit Sherlock, but also increases carbon dioxide emissions. Could have devastating effect on wildlife in British waters and around the world. Experts have warned, yeah, I mean, if you pump tons of sulfur and other dirty exhaust stuff, no shit Sherlock. In slightly more but similarly strange news, Elon Musk and SpaceX the other day, like, was it yesterday? Yesterday or the day before yesterday? Yesterday, presented their Starship update that you probably may or may not have seen. And I find this, I mean, first of all, applauding, of course, so far SpaceX pretty relatively successful track record. However, this presentation, I probably don't play it, not that we get this channel also copyright strike, but first they wanted to do this out of super high-tech carbon fiber, whatever ever composite materials. Now they want to do it out of stainless steel, so they changed the design entirely, which they say is totally more amazing, but what else should they say, right? Apparently stainless steel better in colder conditions, hotter conditions, and of course they want to fly to Moon and Mars and all the great stuff. This stuff, however, is only welded together there. I'm not even sure if they will fly this. I think they said yes as a prototype, although this is welded in so small pieces together that I have my... I'm skeptical if this can fly and not fall apart. Looks a little bit more like a vaporware production sample. The more final stuff, the Mark II or 3 and stuff, they want to weld out of large sheets out of stainless steel with only one welding line there. Apparently, you see what kind of patchwork that is. It looks a little bit, to my opinion, it looks a little bit like the Starship from who is it, from Star Trek, Cochrane or so, in which one was it even, Star Trek whatever, where they go back in time with the Borg, and you get the idea. It looks a little bit like the first warp stuff there, some falling apart, welded together, falling apart thing there, a little bit. And the presentation is really strange. He looks, what I'm really irritated with Elon Musk is, I mean, people tell me my English is crap and my presentation is not the most amazing, but if you look at this for a multi-billion-dollar company presentation, it is really a little bit unsorted and M's and M's. I mean, I would need try very hard to speak as slow and unsorted as Musk apparently, but he's also not going into many details. So questions from the audience were, what do you work there in terms of life support stuff, especially going to Mars? And basically he didn't answer anything. So it's like a closed loop system or this and that. Some reporter asked, and in my opinion didn't really give a clear answer. So it sounds to me that most likely they have not even thought about this at all. I mean, certainly also, fun fact, he said this only takes 5% of their resources. And 95% goes to all the other Dragon, Heavy Dragon, crew capsule stuff and whatnot. And so a little bit strange to build this with also it's like their agile development process of, yeah, just do it fast, and if it's not fast then it's not right, and yeah, the stuff he said there in this presentation. And I'm not really quite convinced that with this style. I have the feeling the first attempts of this, from what I've seen in the presentation and the lack of details and trial and error and agile fast iteration looping there, I would not fly in this the first flights, and I have the suspicion the first things will fall apart, although I wish them the greatest luck. But yeah, somehow yeah, it's a little bit strange. Leave me in the comments below what you think about this. Yeah, although of course this is, he always makes it sound like we fly next year to Mars, but certainly this is decades off, right? This is really, I understand somehow they probably, they have also this one investor who wants to fly around the moon. But yeah, with all the ships they need for refueling and propulsion production on Mars for refilling there on Mars and stuff, it's of course hilarious. It's impossible that they go the next 10 years, even if they land there for building up. But this is also building up some whatever fuel production plants there without humans, fully automated. Not really. Well, probably we will be lucky if we if this happens in our lifetime, but the presentation style and I can't quite take this. Well, they achieved something, but I mean, but also their fast-paced iteration style brought them at the edge of bankruptcy, right? So they were, Elon Musk said multiple times, when the first time they successfully flew or so, this was like the last attempt, otherwise they would run out of money. And somehow, although right now they have quite some success, I also have the feeling if they don't keep up with their quality and rush stuff and a couple of things explode, like this prototype stuff on the first or second flight or something, then this luck could maybe also end sooner than later. So yeah, probably should be a little bit more careful of what agile development process they are trying there on rockets. Anyway, leave in the comments below what you think about any of those topics here. Thanks for watching, hope you learned something, and as usual, looking forward to see you tune in for all the next live streams and videos and news to come.